Hello, and welcome to episode 114 of WrestleRotica, the podcast that combines wrestling with erotica. This week we have two stories to share with you. The first story is entitled, Her Pussy is My Ticket into NXT. A student in Michelle McCool's class is failing, and as a result will not be able to make it into the WWE. Michelle McCool decides to give him one last chance to prove to herself what he has in the ring. The second story is entitled, Santana's Sizzling Workout. On one of the warmest days of the summer, Santana Garrett is training with her instructor Josh. After their workout, Santana has trouble with her car, and Josh decides to give her a ride back to her house. She invites him in, and soon it becomes apparent that this was all part of her plan. Without further ado, let's get to this week's stories. This story is entitled, Her Pussy is My Ticket into NXT.
'Cause I've got a golden ticket.
And it was written by Arcanine878. Hey kid, wake up! Huh? What? I rubbed my eyes. Fuck! I thought to myself, there's still 10 minutes of class. I looked down at the sheet of paper that was only halfway filled with answers to the current assignment. I looked up and my teacher Michelle McCool was staring directly at me. Hurry up! You need to finish this assignment in a couple more minutes. She ordered. I stared at her, not thinking about anything but those boobs that are screaming to pop out of her bra. You all have 2 more minutes, McCool said. I snapped back into school mode. I grabbed my pen as fast as I could to fill out some of the remaining answers. I knew I wouldn't get all the answers down, but at least needed to complete it. The bell rang just as I finished writing the last answer. I was the last one to hang the test in. I quickly grabbed my bags to head to the gym to go lift weights, but Michelle ordered me to sit back down in my seat for a meeting. I sat down patiently, looking on as everyone walked out of class to go to lunch. Listen here, she sighed. I feel as if you're never focusing anymore. You do want to go to NXT and be in the big boys league? Yes! Of course I want to be in the NXT roster. I just honestly don't understand why I have to be here. I'm already strong enough. I have the charisma. I have the guts. All that doesn't matter here right now. If you want to go to NXT, you got to get through the safety regulations and basic knowledge. Right now you are failing my class, and there is not enough time to make up. I sighed knowing that I let my own laziness get ahead of my dreams. I stared at my desk upset and frustrated. You know, Michelle said, there's one more opportunity I can give to you. My eyes perked up as she said those words. Fine! I'll do whatever it takes! I replied. Good! Now! It won't make you pass with the best grades ever, but you will definitely pass. Meet me in the ring at the WWE Performance Center tomorrow at 5 p.m. This is going to be your hardest assignment yet. You better be prepared. I'll do it! I know I can do it! I eagerly stated. Good! You're dismissed. You better not waste my time tomorrow, Michelle said. I grabbed my bags and rushed out the door. All I could think of was the challenge that tomorrow left me with. Today's the day. I rushed over to the Performance Center, barely making the 5 o'clock time. I entered through the doors to the ring, and Michelle McCool was in the middle of the ring, looking seductively, yet terrifying, in her tight shirt and skirts. Wow! I didn't expect you here today. Well, what are you waiting for? Drop your bags and come on in, Michelle commanded. I set my bags on a nearby chair and rolled under the bottom rope into the ring. All right, Miss McCool, what do I have to do? I asked. Today, I'm going to give you wrestle a match with a list of specific moves to try out. And if you pin your opponent or make your opponent tap out, you save yourself from failing the class. But If your opponent pins you or makes you tap out, you lose the test and fail the class, she said. I understand. So who's my opponent? Your opponent is me!
Oh, yeah!
She said. I was confused. I can't wrestle my own teacher, or a woman for that matter. Miss McCool! I'm sorry, but I can't hurt you. I knew you would say that. Get on the top turnbuckle, she ordered. I was still confused. But Michelle, do it or I'll fail you, she ordered. I climbed up onto the top turnbuckle and sat down. Michelle strutted over to me in her high heels and grabbed the edge of my shorts with both of her soft hands. I can always tell that you're one of the most amazing students to be around outside of school. I wonder if your dick says the same, she asked, staring down at my pants. I held onto the ropes to balance myself as Michelle McCool pulled down my shorts, revealing my hard cock. I always knew my students would be turned on by me. Who doesn't want a hot teacher like me to fuck them? Well, Miss McCool, when you dress like that, I think you can turn every boy in the room hard. At this point, I knew what Michelle wanted to see. She wanted to see who would come first, her or I. In order to pass my test, I need to fuck her so good. Her pussy is my ticket to getting into the WWE. I grabbed Michelle's waist and forced her closer to me. She looked shocked at this action, as I quickly locked lips with her, filling her elegant lips with mine. We made out for a good while. I brushed my hands through her hair and down her spine, feeling her soft body on my palms. Michelle took off her clothes and grabbed my cock with one hand, and held the top rope with her other hand. She slowly started pumping my cock, feeling how thick and hard it is. I always knew you had a good cock, Michelle said as she moved her hand up and down from the base to the head. Her fingers felt nice around my dick as she started going up and down faster. She spat on my cock to make her hands more slippery as she looked up at me with her nice round eyes, staring into me as she was pumping against her chest. Michelle grabbed her tits and placed them around my cock, moving them up and down. She looked hot, squeezing her tits around my dick. It felt tight and soft, and my dick seems to go perfectly with her titties. As she was rubbing my cock, she massaged her nipples with 2 fingers on both hands, making herself get harder and harder. It wasn't long until her nipples were really erect. I felt myself have the urge to come, and I knew at this point I might lose. Michelle could feel my cock building up pressure, and she looked eager for me to come. I had to pull another move quickly on her. I grabbed her ass and lifted her up to the rope with me. Her pussy lay between my legs. We made out passionately as my cock was cooling down for a bit. Thank God I decided to lift her up, or else my ass would be gone forever from getting into the WWE. We got off the turnbuckle and laid in the middle of the ring. Michelle was on her back. I forced her legs open, getting a view of her shiny, pink, tight pussy. I fingered her a bit with 2 fingers to see how nice and wet she was. And boy, was she wet. I wanted to taste it for my own. I stuck my tongue in her pussy, flicking her clit back and forth around my tongue. I could hear her letting out some soft moans as I decided to fill her pussy with my tongue a little bit more. I knew she loved my warm tongue and her wet pussy. She started moving her hips up and down the more I ate her out. I had to hold her down for a while to get her to be stable, while I gave her the tongue of a lifetime. I slid my tongue in and out, licked around her pussy lips a bit, and stuck it straight back in. Every time I rushed my tongue in, she moaned even louder and louder. Oh. I laid onto my back and she laid against me as we started to 69. I got a new feel of her pretty pussy as she started sucking my cock. Michelle was a dirty cocksucker, as I could feel her tongue and her saliva on my cock, but she sure knew how to get my cock deep in her and suck it real good. As I sucked on her clit, she held the base of my cock, getting most of it into her mouth, and twisting her lips around, feeling every bump of my cock. She plopped my cock out of her mouth a bit, letting out a few loud moans, slowly stroking my cock. When her moans got softer, she went back to sucking. And that's when I knew I had to start picking up the pace on how I fuck her pussy with my tongue. We stopped 69ing as she wanted to feel my cock go in her pussy. At this point, the match between me and her can go anywhere. We were both super horny and ready to come, but we both didn't want to let up. I decided to go at it, no holds barred, as fast as I could. I sat on my knees and spread her legs open and pulled her closer to me. I slowly inserted my cock in her tight pussy as I held her legs in the air. Her pussy felt so nice and tight, and I wasn't sure how much I could take any longer. Michelle could tell by my face that I was frustrated and knew I was going to come soon. I continued sliding my dick in and out as her pussy opened up for my cock. Michelle's tits were flying up and down with each pounding I gave her. Michelle started moving her pussy up and down as I fucked her, bucking her hips and trying to contract her legs from my grasp. I continued to pound her, but I couldn't take no more. I had to find a way to continue this battle, but it was no use. I slid my cock out and cummed buckets right over her belly. I let go of her legs and laid back against the mat as I knew I just lost. I got up and grabbed my clothes and tossed a towel over to Michelle. I guess this is it, I said. Thanks for all the teachings you gave and the amazing sex. It's a shame that it ended this way, I said as I packed my bag and headed for the door. Michelle quickly ran up to me, saddened that I had to leave as she just had one of the best fucking in a long time. Don't be sad. You gave me a good pounding in the ring. And guess what? I was really close to coming the time you came. And with some thoughts, I decided that you've earned your ticket to the NXT roster. I was elevated as Michelle said that. Wow! Who knew fucking Michelle McCool would give you your chance to shine in NXT? Only on one condition though. Whenever I call or text you, you have to come over to me and fuck me like you did today, and how I want. This was really amazing and compassionate, and I would love to see you and your cock later on. The lovely teacher said. Of course I accepted. Who wouldn't want a free invitation to fuck Michelle? We walked out the ring room and headed to the showers, where we both had a nice, steamy rub down together as the sun began to set by the Performance Center. The end. This story is entitled Santina's Sizzling Workout. And it was written by The Masked Stranger. It was the hottest day of the summer, and the heat was unbearable down in Orlando, Florida. The temperature was 40 with a record high of 109 degrees Fahrenheit. It could surpass that temperature at any time, and everyone knew it. Santina Garrett looked out of the window of the gym after finishing her last set with the trainer. Hey, thanks for squeezing me in today, Santina says to the trainer while taking a sip of water. No problem. Any friend of the Shine Girls is a friend of mine, the trainer says. Glad the girls found you. You know how to work a girl out, Santina says with a smile. Well, it is easy to train a great athlete like yourself, he says while returning the smile. Too bad I had shows here in Orlando this weekend. I'm sore from them, so you didn't get my all, Santina says as she towels the sweat from her brow. I'd love to see that. Ha ha. He replies as they head toward the locker rooms. Thanks again, Santina says as she extends her arms for a hug. The two hug and then go their separate ways. The two take showers in the locker rooms before packing up and heading for the door. Santina is the first one to head out. Wow, it's hot, she says aloud as she rushes to her car. She puts the key into the ignition and turns it, and the car rumbles and doesn't start. She tries again. Two more times, but no luck. Her car won't start, and she gets out and she lets out a sigh. Just then a car pulls up next to her and rolls down the window, and she is hit in the face by the cold air. "Have a good day, Santana," the voice says as she sees it. It is John the trainer she was working out with. "I wish I could, but my car won't start," Santana says with a frown. "How about I drive you home?" John asks her, looking at her sad face and not liking it. "I can't have you do that. I live an hour and a half away in Ocala," Santana says, looking at him. "No problem. I got a buddy who lives up that way. I can hang there afterwards," John says, unlocking the door. "Ah, thank you so much," she says as she grabs her bag, locks her car, and jumps in. The cold air hits her exposed skin, and she shivers a bit. The two make small talk on the car ride about things they like, things they don't, and about wrestling, and being a personal trainer. The ride was fun. There were plenty of laughs as they drove to her place. As they drove, John would shoot glances over at Santana, sitting there, having fun looking outside at the world fly by. As they arrived to her place, Santana places her hand on John's thigh. "Thank you so much," Santana says to John, looking at him. "No problem, Santana. It was a fun time," John says, a bit uncomfortable with her hand on his thigh. "Care to come inside for a little bit before you head to your friend's place?" Santana asks him. "Sounds fun," John says, turning off his car, and follows her inside. They enter the home and John takes a look around. "You have a very nice house," John says as they enter the living room. "Ah, thank you so much. Mind having a seat while I go put my clothes away?" Santana says with a smile, pushing the hair away from her face. "Yeah, sure, I can do that," John says, sitting down on the sofa. Santana then heads to her bedroom, while John waits for her on the sofa. After a few minutes of waiting, he hears some noise coming from the kitchen. Before he hears Santana shout, "John! John! Would you mind coming into the kitchen real quick?" Santana shouts. John enters the kitchen, and he is shocked by what he sees. He sees Santana standing in the kitchen, naked, with whipped cream covering her nipples, and the canister covering her pussy. "I find it best to have a little treat after a hard workout," Santana says with a 40 smile, as she walks over to John. Before John can finish the sentence, Santana is face to face with him. She then kisses him, and he kisses back for a few moments before he pulls away. "I gotta leave," John says as he rushes from the kitchen, out the front door, and out to his car. He enters the car and looks for his keys, but he can't find them. And then he looks at the front window of Santana's house. He sees her at the window, holding his keys, and he sees her laugh, and then close the blinds. "Shit!" John says, as he knows he has to go back in to get his keys. So John exits his car and heads for the front door. Before he knocks, the door swings open, and Santana grabs him by the shirt and pulls him inside, closing and locking the door behind him. "Look, Santana, I just want my keys," John says as he tries to not look at her naked body in front of him. "Come on, give me one good reason not to," Santana says as she begins running her hands over his chest. Because it would be a conflict of interest. You're a client of mine. It's unprofessional," John says as he removes her hands from his chest. "I said a good reason." She then heads for his shorts, and he backs away. "Oh, come on. Don't tell me you haven't wanted to have sex with the girls from Shine," Santana says with a sexy smirk. Before John can fumble out a BS lie about not thinking about all the hotties of Shine in a sexual way, Santana continues. "All the girls talk about how much they want you, how much they wish you would just rip off their clothes." and just do them on the machines. Santana says, backing up John until he falls down onto the sofa. Come on! I'm already naked, and you're in my house, and I want you! Come on! Don't you want me? Santana says before getting a sad-eyed look on her face, as if she is offended by him not wanting her. Santana then stands up and throws him his keys, and begins to sadly walk away before he grabs her arm. Wait! He says, as he pulls her back towards him. He then grabs her large breast, and gently licks the melting whipped cream from her nipples. That's better! Santana says after a moan, when he licks off the last bit of whipped cream. Santana then slinks down to her knees in front of him, and she begins pulling down his shorts, and to her surprise, he isn't wearing underwear, so his cock springs free. Too hot for underwear, he says with a shrug, before Santana giggles and then moves her glance to his cock. She wraps her hand around his shaft and began rubbing her hand up and down his shaft, trying to gauge its size. Nice cock you got here, Santana says to him, looking up at him, as she began kissing his balls and slowly jerking his cock. He lets out a soft groan as Santana then slides her tongue up the length of his shaft, starting at the base and going up to the tip. She then goes to wrap her warm mouth around his member, but he stops here. Wait! Not here! John says, as he stands up accidentally, hitting Santana in the cheek with his cock. He then deadlifts her up and puts her over his shoulder and carries her to her bedroom and places her onto the bed. He then pulls her to the edge of the bed and spreads her legs wide, and he notices something. You like it? Santana says, giggling. What Santana was covering up earlier was a heart-shaped pouch of pubic hair, starting just under her tattoo. John can't think of a response and just looks at Santana with a dumbfounded look on his face. What? I think it's cute. Don't you? Santana asks as she slides down the bed and closer to the bottom of the bed where John was at. John just smiles and spreads her legs a little bit more and begins kissing the area around her pussy. He then takes his tongue and slides it over her slit, and then he begins his slow licking of her pussy. Santana then begins slowly caressing her own large tits as she lets out almost silent moans. He keeps his licking and sucking away at her rapidly moistening pussy as the moans get slightly louder. That's right! Eat my pussy! Santana says as she moves on off of her hands to the back of John's head and the other to her tit, rubbing her nipples softly. He just keeps doing what he was doing as Santana begins to moan louder and louder as the grip on his head goes from playful to a bit more forceful. Same with the rubbing and tweaking of her nipples. She begins doing that a bit harder, just adding extra stimulation to herself. Seeing how John knew what she wanted, he began to lick and suckle away at her pussy, a little bit faster, pulling out every big word he knew and spelling it out in her rapidly wetting pussy. He hears her moan and groan loudly as he could feel her fingers ruffle through his wavy brown hair, and he knew he had her. Oh shit! Keep going! You're gonna make me come! She moans out, slamming his face into her pussy, now using both hands. He keeps licking away as fast as he can sense she will climax at any second. He finishes one more masterful lick, and she moans loudly, letting out a bit of a yelp as he feels her climaxing. A few spurts of squirt blast him in the face as she moans. No big blast of surge of squirt blasting over him. Just a few spurts of it. Sorry! Should have warned you! I don't really squirt that much! Santana says after she regains her composure and lets go of his head. Don't worry, it's fine. Either way, I got to eat out a beautiful woman's pussy. I'm all smiles, John says with a big smirk. Well, me and that cock of yours have some unfinished business. Santana says gleefully as she slides off the bed and onto her knees in front of him. She lightly grips his cock as she can see it is fully erect and very sensitive in its current state. Did I get this dick so hard it hurts? Santana playfully asks, not needing an answer, as she begins slowly jerking his cock. Nah, I was thinking about other Shine girls. John jerkingly says, making a stupid face at her. Now! I know that's not true! Santana replies as she lets her tongue from the base of his cock to the tip, following the big main vein in his cock. That sent a shiver through his whole body, and Santana knew it because she did it again. She just looks at him and smiles like the Cheshire Cat. Then she gently swirls her tongue around his cock's head before sliding it into her mouth. John groans out as Santana sucks away on just his cock tips, sucking and swirling her tongue over his sensitive tip. She then begins slowly slide down his cock, taking it an inch at a time, until she gets all the way down to the bottom of his 8-inch member. She lightly gags on his cock for a few seconds before she starts sucking him off, bobbing her head up and down the full length of his cock each time. He couldn't believe it. He had been with a few girls in his lifetime, but none of them like Santana. The way she was working his cock with her mouth almost made him full out. John just looks down at Santana, bobbing on his cock, and that mixed with her skill and how rock hard she had made him, caused him to approach his climax in record time. Shit, Santana! You're so damn good! I'm gonna nut already! John groans out as his cock begins to throb. Santana looks up at him and gives him something close to a smile and a wink as she began to increase her speed, as John almost fainted. She then slams all the way down onto his cock and grabs his thighs tightly, making herself gag as she feels him throb vigorously in her mouth. She knows he's about to burst, so she slides only the head of his cock was on the tip of her tongue, and she grabbed his cock, gave it a jerk, and it happened. He began shooting load after load of thick cum all over her awaiting tongue and down her welcoming throat. Just rope after rope of the white stuff for the sun-kissed starlet, Santana Garrett. He finally finishes the orgasm and falls onto the bed, cock smacking him in the chest, as Santana swallows down the creamy load left in her mouth before climbing next to him on the bed. You suck a mean cock, John says as he lays on the bed, miraculously still hard. Well, I hate to break it to you, but I've been with a few dudes in my day. It ain't like we all do at Shine is get naked and have a massive orgy. Well, only after really good shows. Santana says, laughing, as she sees John rise up in his eyes at the idea of all the Shine women going at it. Cool your jets, cutie. It was just a joke. Aww. Damn! Got my hopes up, John says with a smile as she just shakes her head. Also, I hope you don't think I always come so fast. It was just so good, and you are so hot. It was just too much, John says looking at her. Don't worry. You're still rock hard and ready to slide into my pussy. That's more than most guys. Santana says before giggles and straddles him. Good thing you're already in position, she says, as she lifts up and hovers over his cock as he holds it steady. She slowly slides down and then teases him as she rubs her interest against the tip of his cock. He groans, and she smiles. Then she begins sliding down, and she slides down and his head enters her pussy. She then slides the rest of the way down. Damn! Your pussy is tight! John says as he can feel her pussy tighten around his cock. How do you think I feel? Santana shouts as she tries to get her groove going, trying to adjust to this cock. She then begins moving up and down on his cock, trying to ride his cock, but unable to, so she has to slowly slide up and down on his cock. She keeps this up for a while, until it kind of starts to help her out, as her pussy finally lets up a little bit, making it slightly easier to ride his cock, but still a tight fit. She leans down a little bit as she rides, making her large tits bounce right in John's face. She begins to bounce a bit faster, making her tits bounce more, as they mesmerize him. And her decides to do what any sane man would do, and begins sucking on one of her tits. She lets out a moan as his tongue swirls her nipples, as his other hand grabs her free tit. She begins rubbing his dick faster, as he then switches and begins sucking away on the other tit, and grabbing the one he just freed from his mouth. Your cock feels so good in my pussy! Santana moans out as she picks up the pace even more. She leans down even more, and he frees her tits from his mouth, as her tits almost lay across his face, He then switches his grip to her ass and begins squeezing and smacking it. Oh, fuck! Keep doing that! Santana says, loving her ass getting smacked and squeezed. We can swap positions if you want me to smack your ass better, John says to him after a loud groan. Santana agrees, and she slides off his cock with a loud pop. And she then gets in doggy style, and he gets behind her and slides his cock into her pussy. He begins sliding his cock in and out of her pussy, squeezing her left cheek with his left hand and smacking her right cheek with his right cheek. He begins thrusting harder and faster, and his squeezes and smacks get a bit harder. Oh, fuck yes! Fuck me harder! Santana moans out in pure pleasure, loving what's going down. He then swaps and begins smacking her left cheek and grabbing her right, and thrusting harder, as Santana begins slamming her big bubble butt backwards against his cock, allowing his cock to enter deeper into her pussy. He can feel his cock throb hard, and he can also feel her pussy pulse hard as he thrusts harder and harder. Fuck! Keep going! I'm gonna come! Santana belts out in a loud moan. John does as she said, and keeps going. He grabs her hips and begins thrusting away, harder and faster than before, going all the way in, hearing his ball smack against her body. Santana loudly moans and shrieks as her orgasm approached rapidly, and they both knew it was going to be a big one. With one more mighty thrust, the dam breaks, and she begins climaxing wildly. But unlike earlier, this wasn't a small, this was a big sea of squirt. John can feel her squirting hard against his cock. He slowly slides out, letting the squirt blast out of her pussy. Fuck! I've never squirted like that! Santana says as her arms give out, and she falls flat on the bed. Don't give up on me yet! You got one more thing before we rest up! John says as he flips her over onto her back, and pulls her to the edge of the bed. He lifts her legs and places her thighs on his shoulders, and slides back into her pussy. He begins thrusting again, and he leans down face to face with her. He can see the thankful look of lust in her eyes, knowing he has done his job. The two then begin kissing, locked in an intense lip lock, as he thrusts into her pussy as hard and fast as he can. The two then break the kiss, and Santana moans before she leans up to whisper into John's ear. Fill my fucking pussy with your hot cum. Santana seductively whispers into his ear, and that does it. He groans out loudly as he finishes thrust and begins unloading rope after rope, shot after shot of hot cum into Santana's pussy. He falls forward and they are locked in another kiss as he finishes shooting his seed deep into her pussy. He breaks the kiss and rises and slowly pulls out of her pulsating pussy. After he pulls out, he smacks his cock against her tattoo in her heart-shaped pubic hair. She slides up and John hops onto the bed, and she then begins rubbing her cum-filled pulsating pussy. Well, you better be going to that friend's house, Santana says as she licks the cum from her fingers. Yeah, I don't have a friend who lives around here, John says out of breath, on the bed, before laughing. I thought so, Santana says laughing. But that's even, because that means you can spend the night, she says as she rolls over onto him and gives him a kiss. She then gets off the bed and walks to the bathroom, as John watches her ass sway side to side as she heads to the bathroom, as he smiles thinking about this amazing day. Santana enters the bathroom and cleans out her pussy, and she looks in the mirror and smiles. Her plan of getting back to her house worked like a charm. The end. Thank you for listening to this week's episode of WrestleRotica. We hope that you enjoyed this week's stories. If you enjoyed this week's stories, please be sure to like, review, and subscribe to us on Apple Podcasts. Visit us elsewhere online, including Facebook, Instagram, Twitter, Tumblr, and as always, our official website, WrestleRoticaPod.com. Thank you and have a good week.